You stand before her as if before a mirror that remembers more than you do. The air is hushed, thick with the breath of centuries. Her eyes do not search for you. They recognize you. That slight, deliberate smile. It is not greeting, nor mockery. It is knowledge suspended between two worlds. The light folds around her like a secret kept too long. Amber skin, calm as dusk, yet every particle trembles with something unsaid. Behind her, rivers twist through impossible lands. They flow neither forward nor back, as if the horizon itself forgot its direction. You feel the stillness hum. She waits, not as a woman in a chair, but as a thought caught between life and art. You are not merely looking. You have been summoned. The silence tightens. The air leans closer. And in that quiet, a question rises from her half-closed lips, not spoken, yet perfectly clear. When was the last time you were truly seen? She was born from the quiet fever of the Renaissance, that brief age when man believed he could reach the divine through reason and still trembled before mystery. Leonardo da Vinci, her creator, was not painting a portrait. He was building a soul. He mixed oil with human breath, geometry with longing, anatomy with silence. Every layer of pigment was a question. What is life when captured by light? What is eternity if not a face that refuses to age? In those years, Florence pulsed with intellect and rivalry. Painters competed not in color, but in understanding of flesh, of nature, of God. Yet Leonardo sought something different. Not beauty, not status, but the trembling point between movement and rest. The instant before thought becomes word. He found it in her, Lisa Gherardini perhaps, or in an idea of her, imagined beyond her name. This was not the first smile ever painted, but it was the first one to think. A smile made not of joy, but of equilibrium, where serenity hides tension and grace conceals endurance. In her, Leonardo dissolved the line between body and spirit, making art a mirror for consciousness itself. And though the centuries would pass, kingdoms fall, museums rise, the air around her would remain charged with that same paradox. The belief that what was once living might still be alive, if only one looked long enough. You step closer. The air changes temperature. Her presence does not occupy space. It alters it. Her body is turned slightly, poised between retreat and revelation. The curve of her shoulder softens the geometry of the wooden armrest. Her hands, folded like quiet thoughts, guard an invisible threshold, neither open nor closed. Light slides over her skin as if reluctant to leave. It lingers on the delicate hollow beneath her throat, then climbs the fine silk folds of her gown. That gown, dark, layered, austere, seems to breathe from within, absorbing every whisper of color the world offers. The sleeves shimmer faintly, gold giving way to shadow, shadow returning to gold. The transition is seamless, Leonardo's sfumato, the art of breathing between tones. Behind her, the landscape dissolves into dream. Rivers coil through valleys that never existed. Bridges span distances no traveler has crossed. Mountains fade into mist, each ridge devouring the next. The sky, pale, detached, belongs to no hour, no season. It is a memory of light, suspended above an earth that refuses to stay real. Her gaze meets you not as an equal, but as a mirror of patience. It is not the stare of a model, but of a keeper, one who has seen all that can be seen and has chosen silence as her final language. The more you look, the less you find. The less you find, the more she offers. Every detail folds back into itself until the painting ceases to depict and begins to breathe. In this stillness, one senses movement, not of her lips, not of her hands, but of the mind behind them. She watches you watching her, and somewhere between the brushstrokes and the centuries, you feel the faintest vibration of thought, as if she were remembering you first. The smile is not her secret, it is the veil that hides it. Leonardo painted the tension between what is known and what will never be named. Her expression, that perfect fracture between serenity and irony, is the human condition itself. We smile to disguise awareness. We compose our faces to endure the unbearable clarity of being conscious. Her eyes, heavy with intelligence, hold the oldest contradiction: to be seen and yet remain unknowable. They follow no one, yet everyone feels followed. Perhaps that is why her gaze unsettles, because it returns you to yourself, stripped of all performance. You realize that she is not smiling at the painter, nor at you, but at something behind you, the invisible observer that lives inside every soul. Conscience. The landscape behind her becomes psychological terrain, mountains of memory, rivers of thought, winding paths of decision. She is seated at the edge of reason, where the human merges with the divine, where nature mirrors mind. Her body, calm and solid, represents the visible, her smile elusive and shifting, the invisible. Between them, Leonardo painted the dialogue between flesh and spirit, between the measurable and the infinite. The painting itself becomes a meditation on duality, woman and idea, light and shadow, creation and decay. Each layer of oil hides another face, another truth, another moment of hesitation. The smile changes because you change. It does not move. You do. That is her magic. She exists not in the canvas, but in the distance between your perception and her silence. Perhaps Leonardo knew what few ever dare to admit, that understanding is the death of wonder. And so he trapped wonder in a smile that can never be fully understood. The mystery is not her face, it is the human need to explain it. To stand before her is to confront the paradox of all creation, that truth can only survive if it remains hidden. The Mona Lisa is not a portrait, it is an argument, whispered softly between matter and meaning. Leonardo, scientist of the soul, knew that reason can describe the body, but never the light that inhabits it. He dissolved lines, blurred edges, so that no boundary could exist between her and the air, between you and her, between art and the act of seeing. He made visibility itself mysterious. This is theology disguised as pigment. In her subtle asymmetry lies the same tension that breathes through scripture, flesh yearning for eternity, the finite aching toward the infinite. Her smile is the echo of Genesis, the moment life became aware of itself and found both joy and terror in the discovery. She is Eve after knowledge, still beautiful, still beloved, but no longer innocent. Perhaps that is why we return to her century after century, not to decipher her, but to feel the fragile distance between God's silence and our questions. She sits at that distance, perfectly still, embodying what language cannot, that holiness is not absence of flaw, but presence of depth. In her, Leonardo carved a theology of ambiguity. Faith and doubt no longer oppose each other. They coexist within the same quiet breath. To look at her is to understand that every revelation must first appear as confusion, every miracle as hesitation. And in that hesitation, we find the trace of the divine, painted not in gold or light, but in shadow. The room falls back into silence. Only she remains, steady in her stillness, endless in her gaze. Centuries have pressed their faces to this same glass. Kings, scholars, pilgrims, lovers, yet none have left a mark. She absorbs them all, then returns to waiting. You begin to sense that her smile was never meant for you. It is a private message addressed to existence itself, a knowing curve that says, "I have already forgiven you for wanting to understand me." She does not reveal. She receives. Every glance you offer becomes another brushstroke completing her face, though she was complete long before you arrived. The longer you stay, the less you believe she belongs to this world. And yet, something in her insists that she does. That divinity must hide in the ordinary, that eternity must wear the disguise of a woman resting her hands in patience. She is the threshold where perception turns to prayer. When you finally turn away, her eyes do not follow. They remain fixed on that invisible horizon, where time dissolves and the soul remembers it was once light. Perhaps the painting was never about her at all. Perhaps it was about you, and the quiet terror of realizing that you too have learned to smile for reasons no one will ever guess. This was Theoria, where art reveals what words cannot. Subscribe and share.